My name is Ava, and I hadn't spoken to my parents in nearly 5 years when their package showed up at my door. It was a rainy Thursday afternoon, the kind of day where the sky never fully brightens. I was pulling dinner out of the oven when Maya came running in from the porch, holding a cardboard box wrapped in brown paper. "There's no name," she said, turning it around in her hands. "But it's for me." My stomach tightened. I took the box from her and inspected the label. No sender, no note, just her name, Maya Harper, scribbled in careful cursive I hadn't seen in years. My mother's handwriting. "Where did this come from?" I asked. It was just sitting on the step. No delivery truck, no knock. I stared at the box. My parents had made their decision years ago. After I refused to raise Maya in the same controlling, toxic environment I grew up in, they cut off contact. No calls, no letters, no birthday cards. And now, this. Maya, 11, and curious, sat on the rug with the box between her legs. "Can I open it?" I hesitated. Something in me screamed no, but I didn't want to project my own wounds onto her. "All right," I said slowly. "Go ahead." She peeled back the paper carefully, revealing a white box underneath. When she opened it, her hands stilled. I leaned over to look. Inside was a dress. A soft, pale pink dress with lace trim and tiny embroidered flowers. It was old-fashioned, the kind little girls wore in sepia-toned photographs. Folded beside it was a velvet hair ribbon and a tiny pair of white gloves. But it wasn't just the style that unsettled me. It was the name stitched into the hem, Emily. Maya's brow furrowed. She touched the embroidery and whispered, almost to herself, "What is this?" I knelt beside her. "Sweetheart, did Grandma or Grandpa ever talk to you? Send you anything before?" She shook her head. "Never." "Who's Emily?" I didn't answer right away. How could I? That night, after Maya went to bed, I sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the dress. I'd laid it out on the table, trying to make sense of it. The fabric was clean, the stitching perfect. It hadn't been pulled out of a dusty attic. It had been remade, because the original had burned. I closed my eyes, and just like that, I was 16 again, back in the hospital room. My mother's sobs, my father's silence, the scent of lilies and antiseptic. Emily, my older sister, perfect, brilliant, loved beyond reason. Gone in a flash after a head-on collision on a rain-slick road. I remember her favorite dress. This dress. They had buried her in it. The next day, I asked Maya if she wanted to keep it. She looked unsure. "It's pretty, but kind of creepy. Like it doesn't belong to me." "You don't have to keep it," I assured her. "Not if it feels wrong." She nodded, relieved. I packed the dress back into the box and slid it into the top of my closet. Unsure what to do next. Part of me wanted to throw it out. Burn it, maybe. But a deeper part, the daughter, still craving answers, held on. I didn't want Maya to feel what I had felt all my life, like she was living in someone else's shadow. I had spent my entire childhood being told to act more like Emily, be more like Emily. Then, after the accident, I was expected to become her, to fill the hole she left behind. That hole was never mine to fill, and I would not let it become Maya's. Later that evening, while Maya was brushing her teeth, I found her sketchbook open on her desk. She'd drawn a girl in a pink dress. The details were precise, down to the lace trim and tiny ribbon on the waist. But the girl's face was blank. No eyes, no mouth, just an outline. I closed the sketchbook quietly. Something wasn't right. The next morning, Maya said, "Mom, I had a weird dream. My heart skipped. What kind of dream? There was a girl, she said slowly. She was standing at the end of my bed, wearing the pink dress. But she didn't say anything, just looked at me. My breath caught. She looked a little like me, she added, but not. I pulled her into a hug. It was just a dream, sweetheart. But I wasn't so sure, because the girl she described, that was Emily. And maybe, just maybe, she hadn't left us completely. I didn't sleep much that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Maya's sketch, that faceless girl in the pink dress, hovering at the edge of her bed. Was it just imagination? Or was something deeper stirring? By morning, I'd convinced myself it was nothing, just childhood dreams colliding with my own long-buried grief. But that comfort didn't last. That Saturday, I took Maya to the library, like we always did. While she browsed the graphic novels section, I wandered the shelves aimlessly, until I passed by the children's reading corner and froze. A little girl sat cross-legged on the rug, reading aloud to herself. She couldn't have been older than 8. She wore a pink dress, lace-trimmed, embroidered flowers at the hem. A velvet ribbon in her hair, exactly like Emily's. Exactly like the one my daughter received. The girl looked up, and for a split second, I felt the breath leave my lungs. Her face was so familiar, not just Maya's features, but Emily's too. A perfect blend of memory and blood. But before I could speak, another woman, her mother, I assumed, called her name. Come on, Eliza. Eliza, not Emily. Still, I stood rooted in place, shaken. This wasn't about coincidence anymore. It felt like something, or someone, was trying to reach through. Back home, I found Maya in her room, sitting cross-legged on her bed with the sketchbook in her lap. She looked up at me, eyes wide. Mom. I saw her again. My throat tightened. In a dream, she shook her head. Just now. I wasn't asleep. I was drawing, and I felt like someone was behind me. I turned around and she was there. Standing by my door. I sat beside her. What did she do? Nothing, just smiled. But it wasn't a happy smile. It felt like, she was sad. I didn't know how to respond. I wanted to protect Maya, shield her from this strange, creeping sensation that something wasn't right. But at the same time, I couldn't keep denying what I felt, too. I opened the closet and pulled out the box. The dress was still folded neatly, untouched since I'd packed it away. But as I reached inside, I noticed something new. A photograph that it hadn't been there before. It was old, faded, black and white. A young girl stood in front of a garden, wearing the same dress. Her eyes stared straight into the camera. I turned it over, written, in that same cursive handwriting, Emily. Spring 1993. I sat down hard. This couldn't be. I had never seen this photo in my life. And I'd packed this box myself. How did it get there? That night, I called my parents for the first time in years. The phone rang 6 times before my mother answered. Ava. Her voice was cautious, almost fragile. Why did you send Maya that dress? I asked, skipping the pleasantries. There was silence on the other end. Mom, the dress, the one you buried Emily in. She inhaled sharply. It wasn't the same dress. Don't lie to me. Her name is stitched in it. The exact embroidery. And now Maya's seeing things. She's what? Dreams. Visions. I don't know. But she described Emily, Mom. Exactly. Another pause. Then her voice dropped. Almost to a whisper. We never should have sent it. I gritted my teeth. Why did you? We thought, maybe she'd feel close to her aunt. that the dress would pass on her kindness. Emily wasn't a ghost to pass around like a family heirloom. She was the best part of us, my mother said, voice cracking. And you took her away the moment you left. That stopped me cold. I had always known they resented me for surviving, for refusing to become Emily 2.0. But hearing her say it outright still stung. I didn't take her away. You did, by never letting her go. And with that, I hung up later. I sat with Maya on her bed, brushing her hair in slow strokes. She leaned into me. Mom, yeah. I don't think she wants to hurt me. I froze. Who? The girl, Emily. My voice was careful. Why do you think that? She looked really sad. But then, she whispered something. It was so soft, I almost didn't hear it. I turned toward her. What did she say? Maya hesitated. She said, "You're the only one who sees me." I felt chills run down my spine. Emily was reaching out, not for revenge, not to haunt, but for recognition, for someone to see her, not as a legend or ghost, but as the sister, daughter, and person she had once been. And somehow, my daughter had become the bridge between two worlds. The next few days passed in a strange kind of silence. Maya wasn't afraid, but she had grown quieter, more thoughtful. She kept drawing. Always the same girl, in the same pink dress. Sometimes standing in a hallway. Sometimes beside a tree. Once, she drew her sitting at the foot of Maya's bed, head tilted to the side, as if listening. Every time I looked at the sketches, I felt the same chill travel through me. I couldn't pretend anymore. This wasn't just grief resurfacing, or my daughter's imagination. Something was unfolding between the past and present, and we were caught in the middle. That Sunday, Maya came into the kitchen holding another sketch, this time with something different. She showed me this, she said simply, placing the paper on the table. It was a picture of our old house, the one I grew up in, where Emily and I used to play. The swing in the backyard, the ivy on the garage, even the chipped paint on the front porch. All of it was exact. You've never been there, I said slowly. Maya nodded. I know, but I saw it in my dream. She said it's where she's waiting. Waiting for what? Maya's voice dropped. To be remembered. I sat down, heart thudding. The house had been sold years ago. My parents moved into a condo after my father's health started to decline. I hadn't seen the old place in over a decade. And yet, somehow, Emily's presence still lingered there. Something told me we needed to go back. I didn't tell my parents we were coming. I didn't want their interference. This wasn't about them anymore. It was about Emily, and Maya, and whatever was left unresolved. When we pulled up to the old house, it looked exactly like I remembered, only older. The yard was overgrown. The swing set hung crooked. But the energy, it hit me like a wave. It was like stepping into a memory. Maya stayed close. As we walked up the cracked path to the porch, the new owners weren't home. I'd checked the listing, and the house was currently vacant, pending sale. The lock was broken. It clicked open far too easily. I hesitated at the threshold. We shouldn't be here. Maya tugged my sleeve. She wants us to. Inside, the house was stripped of furniture, but not of feeling. The air smelled faintly of dust, and something older, lavender and cedarwood. Emily's scent. I followed Maya as she moved through the house like she knew exactly where to go. To the attic. The door creaked as we climbed the narrow steps. Dust motes danced in the sunlight filtering through a cracked window. Cobwebs lined the beams, but the space was empty, except for one box in the corner. Maya pointed at it. She told me to open it. I knelt down, brushing the dust off the top. The box was wooden, aged, and the latch rusted. I opened it slowly. Inside were photos, dozens of them. Emily, as a toddler, in her school uniform, riding her bike, blowing out candles. But more than that, there were letters. Letters I had written as a child. To her, I blinked. Where did these come from? Maya tilted her head. You gave them to her. She kept them here. I picked one up, a childish scrawl on pink paper. Dear Emily, I'm sorry I broke your doll. I didn't mean to. Please don't be mad. Love, Ava. Memories flooded back. I had written so many notes after arguments, before bed, when I missed her. I never knew she kept them. In the bottom of the box was a final envelope, yellowed and unopened. To Future Ava in Emily's handwriting. My breath caught as I opened it. The letter inside was simple, but it undid me completely. Dear Ava, if you're reading this, it means you're still thinking of me. I hope you are. I always knew you'd find your way back here. Maybe not to the house, but to me. I wasn't mad at you for leaving. I knew you had to. I just didn't want to be forgotten. Tell Maya thank you. She sees me. That's all I ever wanted. Love, Emily. I sat on the attic floor and wept. All these years, I had carried guilt. For surviving. For leaving. For not being the daughter my parents wanted after Emily was gone. And yet, my sister, in whatever way she remained, had forgiven me long before I ever forgave myself. Maya leaned against me and whispered, "She's gone now." I looked at her. What do you mean? She was waiting for you to read the letter. Now she's at peace. The house felt different, warmer, like a weight had lifted. I took one last look around the attic before closing the box. Emily didn't need a shrine. She needed to be remembered. Back home, the air felt clearer. Still, a strange calm settled over everything. Like something inside both of us had been rearranged. Maya didn't draw the girl in the pink dress anymore. Instead, she painted trees, sunlight, smiles. One evening, while I folded laundry, Maya came into my room, holding the old ballerina doll. "She's really gone now," she said softly. I looked at the doll, its frayed tutu, the faint crack across its porcelain cheek. It had once been Emily's most beloved thing. Now, it felt like a goodbye gift. "She said to give this back to you," Maya added, "because she knows you'll take care of her memory." I held the doll gently and sat down on the edge of the bed. All those years I spent running from the past, trying to forget the pain, it had all come full circle. And somehow, through my daughter, my sister had reached out and healed the wound I didn't know still bled. That night, after Maya went to bed, I sat at my desk and began to write, not a letter, but a story, about two sisters, one light and one shadow, and how love can echo even after the silence. How memory is never truly lost, just waiting for the right moment to be found again. I wrote until the moon was high and the tears had dried on my face. Then, I placed the ballerina doll on my bookshelf, right next to the framed photo of Emily and me. I hadn't displayed that photo in years. But now, I saw it differently, not as a symbol of grief, but of connection. Maya never asked about the girl in the pink dress again. But sometimes, I'd catch her staring quietly at the bookshelf, a soft smile on her lips, like she still felt her presence, not as a haunting, but as love. Weeks later, my parents called. "We've been thinking about things," my mother said awkwardly. "Maybe it's time we talked." Really talked. I didn't know what had shifted in them, or if they'd ever fully understand. But I realized something important. Forgiveness didn't always need an apology. Sometimes, it just needed a decision to move forward differently. I agreed to meet them for dinner, and this time, I wouldn't shrink myself. I wouldn't pretend to be fine, or erase the parts of my story that made others uncomfortable. I would be Ava, daughter, sister, mother. And I would honor Emily, not with silence, but with truth, because she had always been part of our lives, even when no one dared to say her name. Now, finally, we said it out loud, Emily, and we smiled. Because remembering her didn't hurt anymore, it healed.